Welcome to a brand new episode of the Post Game. I'm your host, Davion, and I'm joined by David.
What's up?
Lillian.
Yep.
And Emmett.
Hey, y'all.
How y'all doing today?
I'm tired, bro.
Fatigued.
Yeah.
Quite swell off the Chick-fil-A.
Quite so well. Today we are continuing our Let's Talk Basketball series, and today we're talking about the Miami Heat. Like we start all of these videos in this series, what's the peak? What can they achieve this season, and where is like their downfall? Highs and lows.
Finals high.
Champs?
No, not champs. Making the finals high, and then like low second round exit. I think they win at least a playoff series this year.
I agree.
Guaranteed.
I got them as high as the finals, low as what he said, second round.
Yeah, so this Heat team is interesting. Because you have a Duncan Robinson who you are paying a lot of money to, but he can't play defense. And we saw last season in the playoffs, he literally was like benched because he couldn't play defense and guard anybody, and literally his minutes dropped drastically. And so when you look at this team, it's like you have Victor Oladipo and Kylari as your guards, or as some of your guards. What's your opinion on those two players?
I feel like I know VO was coming off an injury and whatever, but I feel like this season, I mean, I seen VO come out off of injury in Indiana. I seen him cut up. Yeah, I just feel like this is his like comeback season. With Kyle Lowry, I mean, he played his role. Like he always been a pass first person. He always played defense. He always scored when he needed to. He fits his role. I mean, I love both of them.
Yeah, maybe it's late, but I think Oladipo can come back to the Heat this year, averaging 20.
Yeah.
I think he can take the starting job of Duncan Robinson. I think he can average 20 for this Heat team.
20?
Yeah. He played great in the conference finals when he came back. And I think that's why Duncan Robinson got benched, is because he was playing great on defense.
Yeah.
And still producing on offense, too.
What about Kyle Lowry?
I think that he plays his role, like David said.
So
he's a great fit for the Heat, though.
So I think everyone who knows that I'm a Heat fan, and I despise both of them. I just don't like it either. I don't like either of them. I just think like Kyle Lowry's a waste of contract, and like he just like like leadership wise, like I think he's great. I think he's great leadership wise, but when it comes to like effort and like points,
Never mind.
When it comes to like points and like assists and stuff like he was hurt towards the end of last season for one, and like he's out of shape, and like that just doesn't help like keep him like healthy, and so it's like it just is a bad fit for the Heat in my opinion, bringing him back. But I mean like Victor Oladipo had a decent like playoffs, and so like I guess bringing him back was okay. But I mean, I don't know. I'm good if you just get rid of the both of them, to be honest.
What do you expect? Well, you got Bam, you got Jimmy, you got other scorers. What you expect them to put up 100? Like what?
No, he just can't put. He didn't put anything up.
They play their role. That's team ball. It's not based off of numbers.
Then why did the Heat lose last season in the playoffs if they played team ball?
They lost by a game.
Yeah, true.
And they didn't win the game.
Foolish.
It's Jason Tatum.
So, like you just mentioned, David, Bam, Jimmy. Do you think like Jimmy can go for that MVP that MVP award this next season? And do you think Bam can try to get that Defensive Player of the Year?
I don't know why I was actually feeling that prediction, like Jimmy getting MVP. I don't know. This is something about him. He got that dog in him. So I feel like he will he will get that MVPs. But Bam on the defensive end. Now you still got Giannis on top. They now awarding and actually seeing guards play defense. So you got Mikal, you got Marcus Smart. I mean, Bam, he's a great defensive player, but I mean, you got all these other great defenders in the league. That's not way better than him, but really better.
I mean, what 2 seasons ago was it? He was runner-up for defensive player of the year, and arguably should have gotten over Rudy Gobert. I think if he just Bam last season was funny because like I think and towards in the middle of the playoffs, he just wasn't producing at all, and he was looking a lot like DeAndre Ayton. And so a lot of people were really trying to figure out like Jimmy couldn't do it all by himself. Obviously, you have Tyler Hero, who we talk about in a second, but I mean, I think for me personally, I need a little bit more out of Bam on the scoring end. Like I need him to turn into a Joel Embiid because like, I mean, he has the frame and he can definitely do it, but I don't know. I think Jimmy there's so much Jimmy can do, and yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy, like, he's gonna hoop.
Yeah.
Every game, but I feel like he really turns up in the playoffs. Like that's when he comes out. Like I don't
agree.
see him ever winning an MVP in the next few seasons. But like those conference finals MVPs, like any kind of awards in the playoffs, like he's an instant contender for. So, like every single playoffs, like I don't think there's been one where he's like disappointed per se.
I agree. I mean, listen, Jimmy Butler is one of those players where it's literally he leaves his entire heart on that court at the end of the game. We saw in the bubble. He played. Didn't he play like almost every minute of the finals?
Yeah.
And we saw like just that takes dedication and heart for sure. I mean, talking about some of the role players at Miami right now, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, they definitely turned up a lot in the playoffs last season and definitely added to that team. But there's one in particular. I wouldn't say he's a role player, but he wants to start next season. Tyler Hero. What's y'all's opinion on Tyler Hero?
I love Tyler. I'm not even gonna lie. I love Tyler. I love his work ethic. I love how he wants to get better. I seen him in the offseason. I seen his interviews. I love his personality. Obviously the team he's on is based off of basically defense, really. Like, Miami always been based off of defense. I mean, I feel like if he had a fresh start somewhere else on like Hornets, like nobody will have no hate on Tyler.
I think like he's great for the Heat because, like you said, they're so defensive minded and they can rely on him to go out and get 20, 25 a night if they need to, because there are times in the playoffs where like they struggle to like put out like points, but on the same side of it, like they were holding their opponents to the same score that they had. So having someone like Hero that can put the ball in the hoop, I think is a great person to have on your roster based on team need. But like, I don't know, I don't really have an answer to whether like I think he should start or not. It's kind of an interesting like situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tyler Hero is one of those players where we saw him thrive as a six-man, but I don't think that's necessarily that he's better as a six-man. It's just that he would be so good as a starter that even as a six-man, he's the best six-man. So I think looking at what the Heat have, I would not be opposed to the Heat having Kylari as the sixth man and starting Tyler Hero.
So you're saying Tyler run point?
Tyler at the one.
Tyler at the one.
So Vio is he at the two?
Yeah.
Actually, if Tyler was inserted into the starting lineup, I'll put Vio at the one because he actually played PG a little bit. Tyler, can't see him playing PG really.
I think he can distribute the ball. I don't think I see what you're saying though, He definitely is more of a shooter. Like you got to give him the ball and let him go get his shot because he can definitely do that, and we've seen him do that. I don't know. I think that honestly, it's like on some teams, I feel like that 1 and 2 position is so interchangeable. Like like you can move it around so much. But you have Jimmy Butler at the 3, Bam at the 5 or 4. 4?
They've been playing Caleb Martin at the 4,
Yeah. He is big.
but
Yeah,
PJ Tucker gone now, so I don't know.
something I'd
Oh,
be
it is right. So
I
that's
don't
I mean, so saying that this team we were talking about defense on this team. I mean, PJ Tucker is when it comes to defense, he's one of the best in the league. I mean, we saw him with the Bucks. We saw him with the Heat last season facilitate that defense and really elevate it a lot. Now he's moved on to the 76ers. Just because I want to talk about PJ Tucker and his the way he is, let's talk about the 76ers real quick. Like, he will elevate that team like on defense, won't he?
Yeah,
I mean, not really elevate. He'll just be he'll be a falling right in place because got defense already.
Yeah. You're right. You're right about that. But so go ahead.
He'll be just basically a huge like glue guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So Max Strus definitely showed that he was like that he's good enough to be a 3-and-D type guy in this league. And so, I mean, we saw him play last season to the playoffs. Do you think we'll see more of these role guys like him, like Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, and some of these other guys? Do you think we'll see them really get implemented into the system a little bit more?
Yeah, I think we see them get implemented, but I also want to add another name in there. The rookie, I think he went 27th overall, Nikolayovich.
Yeah.
Serbia. I think that is I think that's a great draft pick. He's only 19 right now. So I think he won't be starting anytime soon. But I think as he gains experience, that Nikolayovich becomes a huge part of the team. I mean, he's definitely a solid playmaker. He's got good handles for his size. He's 6'10".
Yeah.
He's a shooter. He finishes pretty well. I mean, he's an all-around player, and I think he fits in really well with Miami.
I agree. I definitely watched him in the what's that thing called? In the summer league a little bit, and I saw his first couple of games. He were a little shaky to get acclimated into the system, but once he did, it showed that he could definitely be a threat and a big addition to Miami. Obviously, he needs to put on a little bit more weight, but I mean that's all these young guys. But I think if he can really add some more scoring, I think the Heat really has a well-rounded squad going into the next season.
So my question is, you've got you got a lot of money tied into Bam and Jimmy, especially Jimmy. I think he's getting paid like close to $50 million in like 3 years.
Yeah.
And Tyler Hero is about to be a free agent after this year. Like, is he someone that you would want to move at the deadline and get something back for him? Or do you want to commit like 25 million to him over the next like 4 years, and so then you're locked into this roster? Like, are you comfortable being locked into this roster for the next like 3 years?
So that's a great question. So when it comes to Tyler Hero, I think depending on how he starts the season leading up to that deadline is depending on if you move him or if you try to look. I mean, because I know they've been kind of looking to move Duncan Robinson because of the lack of defense that he has. But I think if you can get substantial amount of like equity or like play or a player for Tyler that can like boost you into a championship team. Granted, this team's already a championship team, but a winning championship team, I think go ahead. But me personally, I think you have to keep him. I mean, he averaged 15 last season, something like that. 15-ish last season. So you have to like he's a very young, and he can be your future after Jimmy's gone or whatever. Because he's 22 years old. Like I feel like there's too much potential to let something like that leave. That's like Zion. Like there's too much potential to let him leave, or like anybody else. There's too much potential to let him leave.
So then why do you think there have been so many potential pushes for them to get KD, Donovan Mitchell, and even like Gordon Hayward has been in like talks?
I think because Donovan Mitchell and KD, they compared to Tyler Hero, who's very young, they add something overnight. They add scoring. They add defense from Donovan Mitchell's standpoint. They definitely they elevate this team into a winning championship team. Because you put Donovan Mitchell into this Heat team, I think it switches overnight instantly. Not saying it's bad now by any means, but you put KD in this team, and obviously there's a no-brainer there.
So then if you're saying all that, you just proving the fact. What's the reason to keep Hero?
I mean, there's two sides of it. You want
Depends on the player.
You want to keep him for the young, your future, for just to build off of, because he could potentially be your starting point guard for the next 10 years. Or you can go and trade him away for Donovan Mitchell or KD and get something different.
Okay. Do you feel like Tyler is one of them KD type players, or he will turn into one, or like a Donovan type player, something like you said that'll add an instant impact?
So when I look at Tyler Hero, I look at and this is just talking about like where we think he can peak at, right? So when I look at Tyler Hero, I look at somebody like a John Wall or Bradley Beal, somebody that can score effortlessly whenever they want to, right? And so, I mean, that's potential that he has, but you don't really know his potential right now, because like we saw his first. I mean, that first year he was really good, but then when he got to the playoffs, he went gone. He went ghostly. But then the next following year, last season, we saw he really tried and like developed a little bit more. And so I think it's just a matter of what he does, what he's been doing this offseason, which has been developing. But whatever he does and shows once the season starts in October. Any more questions?
How far? Or you probably was going to ask it. Well, you already answered it.
What was the question? I want to hear it.
It was the same question we had at the beginning. I was going to say how you personally feel, how far y'all will go.
So I think Miami, compared to the other NBA teams, I think we're definitely a powerhouse. I definitely think we are a strong team. But I think when you look at what Boston has done this offseason, adding Brogdon and what's that guy's name?
Gallinari.
Yeah, adding those two guys, I think that completely boosts them up to a top team, can be right back in the finals. When you look at the Bucks, they added some guys as well. They added Joe Ingles and somebody else I don't remember. But like that right there, that's already. I mean, and that puts the Heat. I mean, depending on where these players like Tyler Hero, where Duncan Robinson, what are we gonna get out of VO? Like, depending on whatever those guys can produce at the start and going into like the deadline and going into the All-Star break, that to me shows like how good and how efficient this Heat team can be. But until I see what they're gonna produce and what they're gonna bring, I got nothing. I can't say that they're gonna be an NBA Finals championship team yet.
Bro.
Who do you personally feel like is better, the 76ers or the Heat?
The Heat.
Is that personal bias or that's real fact?
Obviously it's personal bias, but I think that's both though. I think Doc Rivers as a head coach, he's great, but when it comes to the playoffs, he shatters fast. And I think that team is too fragile, because when we talk about like that team just isn't, that they were not disciplined in the playoffs. Defense wasn't a priority to them in the playoffs. And so I think that's a big thing why that 76ers team isn't better than this Heat team.
You got a point. You got a point. First time you actually right.
Okay. All right. Any more? Anything else? I mean, because I'm a Heat fan, I think it's easier for me to just be sitting here and pounce with the questions, because I I think this team is good, but I love how the Heat and Eric Spoelstra being one of the greatest coaches we've seen these days. He's one of the best in the league right now, and has been for the past 10 seasons. But what he's done for over the past couple seasons with these guys and some of these good role players, I think has been great. Maybe giving Duncan Robinson that fat contract really early was kind of questionable because it was 2 years, $55 million, right? I think it was for Duncan or something like that, or is it 3 years, 70 mil, whatever the contract was. That was a little questionable, but I understand why you have to lock it up. But I don't know. I am just interested to see what we do with Tyler next offseason and how Tyler Hero develops and what Victor Oladipo can bring to our team. Any final thoughts on the Miami Heat?
One thing I'm gonna say. How come always the Hornets always beat the Heat?
Not in the playoffs. Not when it counts. Not when it counts.
Purple shirt guy.
When we play y'all in the regular season, we always beat y'all.
Hey, listen, we care, we matter in the playoffs, buddy. Once you get there and start winning games and start getting blown out in the play-in, then start talking to us. But anywho, I've been your host, Davion. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. And always leave a comment and tell us how you feel about it. David, Emmett, Lillian, thank y'all for joining. And yeah, it's been a good one. This has been the post game. Peace.
Catch y'all.